Here we go. So we're live on Facebook, everyone. Great. Hi, everyone. I hope everybody knows me by now. My name is RenéMarie. I had the honor of starting a support group and working on the BASE program with the author and the designer of the BASE program, Keith Taylor. It's such a great and important program because it comes from his heart and his soul. And when you suffer a stroke or you suffer from aphasia, as our panel and guests today know, it really is a struggle to get back your strength and your confidence and your wisdom and just to your belief in yourself. So Keith designed this program, which is called the BASE program. Let me get my information here. And it works on belief, attitude, strength, and energy. And when we were talking about it, we said, well, let's do one program in teaching and let's do one program in just hearing what stroke survivors need. And because we've gone through it, but we don't know what other people need. So this is about communicating and hearing from everybody. So let me introduce everybody on the panel, and then I'll have them all say a few words themselves. So let me start with Judy Marlowe. She's at the bottom. Hi, Judy. Say hi.
Hi.
Judy
Good evening.
So everybody knows Judy is you know, on the RenéMarie Language of Love board, and she is the booking agent for the Stroke of Luck, and she does so many other things. You'll have to look at her business card to find out. And then above her we have Ginny Warner, who is also on my board. Judy's grandfather suffered a stroke. Ginny herself suffered a stroke.
Excuse me, it was my dad.
Your dad, I'm sorry, your dad, sorry. And then above them, we have Keith Taylor, who is the designer of the BASE program, which we're going to hear a lot about through this. But then we have really two very special guests with us today. Pamela, who we kind of got introduced in a very God way, a dear friend of mine who I just happened to meet, spoke to me about Pam. We went over, and Pam and I have been connected ever since. So hi, Pam, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
You know, my name is not Pamela, though.
It's
my real
Pam.
Patricia. Yes. But
Oh, it's Patricia?
Yes.
So you want to be called Pam or you want to be called Patricia?
No, Pam.
Pam. Yeah, because I see Pam on your Zoom live. So good. And then we have Dennis. Hi, Dennis. How are you?
I'm doing great today. Thank you very much.
And I see the wonderful work that both of you do on Facebook. You're really pushing. Pam just joined a support group, and she was very excited to share with everybody. And I see you doing workouts or something.
That's try it.
Yeah, you're doing great. You're doing great. So,
I just want to add, Dennis, that I've been trying to get in touch with you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did that.
I'm not on Messenger, though.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You want to jot down my email address?
we'll do it later on, Judy.
Okay.
You know what? I'll Facebook him your email address. I'll Facebook him your email address. So let's start. Let's let Keith lay the groundwork for this, because we're gonna of course hear all your stories of how you got to this point in your life. But Keith, give us a little bit of why you designed this program and what you think it could bring to us, and then everybody will share their story a little bit.
Okay, well, I'll try to keep it short and as much as I can. So, you know, had a company, was growing our company, had my retirement all figured out. I thought, you know, that was going to be my retirement and everything. And then I had my stroke, and life changed pretty drastically. And I won't go into all the details because of timing here today. But like all of you, it threw a curve in my life, right? and a big curve. And, you know, going through the depressing times that we all, not all, but probably 95% of us experience after having a stroke. We go through a depressing time. I was, and I went through the same. And then it was like, okay, wait a second. Why is there nothing out there that helps stroke survivors get through the depressing time in their life and helps them to move on? And that is what motivated me to begin this process. And I'll tell you, Renee, you know, next month is my 10-year stroke anniversary.
Wow.
Happy stroke anniversary.
Wow.
If that's a word, right?
Glad you're better.
Yeah. And so, you know, it took a few years to get the ball rolling. And I started doing some counseling. In other words, I would help others by counseling them. And I really, what happened there was it was a struggle because I couldn't communicate very well with people. And especially when in the first part of after having a stroke, you really are challenged to communicate. And I get that as well, you guys, because in my company, I forgot all these things about the company, and it was a tough road for a while. And then I ended up being let go of my company. And there's, you know, I'm not saying anything bad about the other guys, the other owners. It was just what needed to happen, but I couldn't get it. So coming back now, so I was
Keith,
helping.
can I interrupt you for 1 second? Because there's a question I want to ask the panel. Just remember your spot. That I want to ask the panel, like, did anybody suffer from depression, like Keith and myself at that particular time? Dennis, do you want to go first? Did you suffer from any sort of depression?
Yeah, it was 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. And it was so bad. Here, when I got added, it was so much bad. So much bad. I really could see I do so much good for it. But now, my God, I was gonna be dead for 3 months. 3 months. Who's gonna be there? And it was so makes me want to fight with it. Well, when I talk to Buddy, I can't talk with anybody because, you know, everything they don't understand it. You know, I can't do anything there, and you know, it really hard. It really kids so much, and sorry.
That's okay.
What?
Listen, go slow, take your time, and that will help. Just take your time. We're not in a hurry.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Within everything, you know, every time I try, like when I was done, when I could have been 3 days here, it was done. And then I understand that, okay, what's happened now? What am I doing it? What am I going there? And then, you know, it started a little bit for it. And then it was like, you know, it was so much, and then everything just charged me real. Sorry. Then sorry, and then it came.
Okay.
And then once I started, well, okay, where do I go? Okay, okay, it's here, everything. Okay, I know it's all good, you know. So okay, everything's good, you know, everything's good. But now my wife and my son and everything, they still think they're right now. They still think it as well. Oh no, go do it, you know. They don't understand it even when I try it, you know, when they try to do it there. Did, did, uh, did, did, I'm sorry. Does anybody? Sorry. Do you understand it there?
Yeah, I think I understand that you were having challenges in communicating with everybody initially, first when you had your stroke, that you didn't communicate with them. I have a question for you though. if you couldn't communicate with them, did you understand what they were saying to you? Did you understand
Oh
that?
yeah, oh yeah, it took it, yeah, now, because I can't even do this. I can't even do it now.
You can't even
Were
write.
you able to write what you were thinking, Dennis?
Excuse, I'm sorry.
Were you able to write down what you were
No,
thinking? No?
I
Yeah.
can't even do it. Even I can't even do it there. It's terrible.
That's aphasia that you have.
Yeah.
That you
That's
have.
that's hard, because when I, when I couldn't speak, or my father couldn't speak, he was in the hospital, and everybody would give you a pen and say write it down. But what if you can't write it down? That's really very, very challenging. Dennis, you've come so far though. You've come so far. Just do me a huge favor. Just take a deep breath all the time when you're talking. Don't, because the world should have patience for everybody. For everybody should
Yeah.
have patience. So just
I
take
see
a
Dennis
breath.
exercising on Facebook. I see him doing a lot of exercise. Sometimes I think you're doing more exercise than I'm doing.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
it's the only thing doing. It's doing the chef, right? Chef.
Oh, and you're cooking too.
Yeah, and then it's starting a little bit more from there. It's gonna be, it should be a little bit more than that. Because I said, oh my god, you can do it, yeah. So hopefully I hope it'll be so much better than the.
Good. Well, the question I'm going to ask later on, not now, but I want you to think about it, is we're asking now who, if you were depressed, and later on, I'm going to ask was there anybody that inspired you to get over that depression, or to get out of your way, that cycle in your life. But just think about it. I don't want to answer, because we're going to go to everybody about the depression. Then we're going to ask Keith how he got out of that depression. So Judy, can you give us about your dad? Did your dad?
Yes, my dad had swollen ankles. That was the first sign. And I knew he had heart problems, so I took him to the heart specialist. And the heart specialist examined him and said, quote, he was in the best of health for his age. 2 weeks later, he had a massive stroke and was paralyzed on his entire left side. The only thing he didn't tell me, and I assume he didn't tell the surgeon, the heart doctor, was that he had a killer headache for some time, and he never, ever mentioned it because he didn't want me to worry. I happened to, because he was living alone and he was older and my mom had passed, I decided to call him twice a day, 9 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock at night, just to check up on him. I don't think he was too wild about that idea, but that's what I was doing. And I talked to him that Sunday that he had the massive stroke. I spoke to him Sunday morning. Everything seemed okay. At 5 o'clock, I called him, which was a little unusual, but I wanted to share with him that I just got a cell phone and I was going to be able to keep in touch with him a lot more. And that was the last time I had a conversation with him, because when I called at 9 o'clock, there was no answer. I had to reach neighbors and finally the superintendent. And then I called back a few minutes later and they said, your dad had a stroke. We called an ambulance. I was about 45 minutes to an hour away from where my dad lived. We rushed to the hospital. I found out he had a stroke, and then I went into action, finding out who the doctor was, eventually having to make arrangements for him to be in a nursing home.
Wow, wow. So did he suffer any depression, or he couldn't communicate?
I'm not sure. There was a point where he said to me, I think this was like 2 years later, I don't think I'm getting better. And I said, oh yes, Dad, you're going to get better. Just, it takes a little longer and all that. I didn't ever want him to think he wasn't going to get better, but he was able to communicate and he was able to talk about things that happened in the past.
Wow, Mom. So thank you, Judy. Pam, could you share, did you have any depression when you
Yes.
first suffered a stroke, or now, or tell us a little bit
I have
about it?
it now too, But when I first came home from Kessler, I attempted to take my own life.
Oh my God.
I had a bottle of pills and a glass of water, and my youngest at the time was 9, and he coughed. And I thought, I can't do this. Like, what would that be like if him and his brother came out and found me dead?
Right.
It would have been terrible.
So, but I
So
take
how did,
medicine now, and I go to a psychiatrist once a month.
that's good. You know what? We're proud of you for taking control, you know, and the truth is that I see a counselor once a year, you know, as a checkup, like I see my regular doctor. And, you know, many years ago, because my stroke has been over 30 years, but many years ago, I used to go and I used to have to go and I used to need someone to support me and help me through it. And I
No,
still
like I
go.
said, yeah.
We're very proud of you for taking control of your life. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, and how did, like you said you took the pills and then you heard your son.
No, I was sitting at my kitchen table and I had my bottle of Coumadin
Oh, okay.
and a glass of water, and I was gonna just take them. And
You were gonna
the
take it.
doctor said to me, he's like, "You would have died a horrible death. You know that."
I have a question for you though, so that we could try to understand why, I mean, what was going through your mind at the particular time? Or was it so, because I remember being so combobulated that sometimes I couldn't think. So was it the frustration? What was it that?
Because when I came home from Kessler, I had a wheelchair, I had a diaper. They had to call my husband at 1:00 in the morning the night before I was coming home because I was hysterical crying that, you know what, this is not what he signed up for.
Right.
And he had to call a neighbor to come sit with my kids, drive down to Saddlebrook, and he's like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "You know what? I remember being in Garfield and standing in front of 100 or so people and saying I was in this for the good, the bad, and the ugly."
Wow. How
And
blessed. How blessed.
Yeah.
and you know, like I said, it's just because I was so not me. And that's
Yes.
what happens to me now too. Like, because there's so many things that I can't do, and I get myself into, you know, a spiral. And that's one of the reasons that I decided to join the support group, because
Right.
I had a friend in high school, and she took a stroke in August, and I took mine in October. And you know, we could talk to each other, and that was great. But 3 years ago, I was in Israel on vacation, and we would talk on Messenger all the time. Well, she had a brain bleed and died. And you know, I was devastated because I couldn't go to the funeral or anything because I was on the other side of the world.
Was that a
And
hemorrhagic stroke she had, the bleed?
you know, she had and this is what my neurologist explained to me. She had a disease called moya moya,
Oh, okay.
and moya moya in Japanese means puff of smoke. And that's what the blood vessels do in your brain when you have this. It's very rare because she was Italian, and it's mainly Oriental people that
Oh,
get it. But she had this, and that was what caused her first stroke. And it's eventually what, you know, what killed her.
Wow. Wow.
But
Well, you know, what I hear from that is the blessings that you have for still be alive and to be able to experience your children and your husband, who is just an incredible soulmate and individual. And when you get married, you do get married for the good and the bad. And wow, you're blessed. You're blessed.
Like I said, you know, and our big joke between her and I is we didn't want to be on the memorial page at our high school reunion.
That's right.
And she said, because it was getting close to our 40-year reunion. And she called me and she's like, we'll be each other's date. And we'll do a
Wow.
show for not
Wow.
being on the memorial page. But unfortunately, she had to be on the memorial page. But what was nice was that the rest of the class, they allowed me to do a toast.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's
And we all
awesome.
did a shout to her and to, another classmate passed away suddenly, the same way, not a stroke, a heart attack. But so it was like, she was there, like that,
Yeah.
So I kept telling her, you were there in my heart and everybody else's heart. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's got to be very hard to share with the world, but your words are going to bring somebody else hope that there is life, after a stroke and after aphasia. And we actually had someone who I'm friends with in the area, Stacy Kaplan. She actually tried to commit suicide as well. And the only reason I say that is because she came on my show to say it. So you're not alone, but, we're so happy and honored that you trusted us to share your story with us. So, Ginny, did you suffer any depression after you?
No, I really don't think I did. I was very fortunate when I had the aphasia, which was now more than 11 years ago. I didn't have any leftover effects from it, other than probably denial. Even when I was in the hospital, when they did all the tests, they said, "What are you doing here? You're the healthiest person we've ever seen." There was no stroke in my family. I have something called fibromuscular dysplasia, which is in the carotid arteries. It narrows and swells. It's not from blood pressure. It wasn't from weight. It wasn't from any of the other things that normally you would say, this is what might have caused your stroke. So we know what it is. Everything's been fine for all of this time. But I had been out of work for a little over a year at that point. But I had a project I was working on, and that kind of had a focus for me. And then I did get another job a couple of months after that. So I was back into the work cycle and really didn't have time to be depressed. But I didn't feel bad. So I'm really very fortunate, a lot more so than a lot of other people.
Wow.
Blessed.
And the job, Ginny, that you got is the one you have now?
I still
It's a
have,
really good one.
it's a very good, I
A
went
very good one.
working in the garment industry in Manhattan. I loved my job. I was an office manager for about 250 people. The people I worked with were great, but it was the garment industry, and there's a lot of people there that are not terribly well balanced. Let's put it that way. So, when I was doing the work of about 3 people and they tried to double that up again, and I said, I can't do this anymore, goodbye. I'm now working for a small family company. They force me to take an hour for lunch. They throw me out the door at 9 o'clock.
I love it.
I get done today, okay, it'll get done tomorrow. So, at this point in my life, it's a perfect job. It's less than 5 miles from home. I don't have to worry about the trains or the subways or anything else. So as far as all of that goes, life is good. And I always kind of chuckle and say to myself, my stroke was a stroke of luck, Renee, because if we hadn't found that condition when we did, I might have had a much bigger stroke and
That's true.
a bigger problem. So I'm lucky and that, I am where I am, and, but happy to help and be here and support everyone else.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you, Ginny. So, Keith, how do you get through that depression with your program? How did you get through it?
Well, before I go there, I want to give you a chance too, RenéMarie. Tell us a little bit about your story, would you? Because I'm not sure. I mean, I've probably heard bits and pieces throughout, but let's hear a little from you too. I want to hear what happened with you.
You really do? No, I was on the softball field coaching. I was coaching at the particular time, and I was on the third base. I was a third base coach and walking across the field. And I got to the first base dugout and just said, I need help, and collapsed. And, you know, and my daughter was 8 months old. She was in the arms of somebody else, you know, she was at the game. All the people that were at that field 13 years prior had come back just to watch the game. And I'm blessed. And I'm blessed because it didn't happen while I was driving. It didn't happen while I was home alone with my daughter crawling around on the floor. So to me, it was a stroke of luck. It just, you know, a stroke of luck. But I am so, from my softball years, I've learned to be very focused and not to let what's going on in my life stop me from achieving what I desire to achieve.
Right.
And that comes from my softball practice. I was a third baseman, and you know, I played up because the batters would bunt the ball, but sometimes they would hit the ball. So I had to be focused and on my game, because otherwise I'd be wearing the ball in my teeth.
Right.
So, but that came as a gift for me when I suffered my stroke. And there was a lot of difficult times, such as me being depressed. I never saw myself as depressed. But my sister said, you know, you really need to go see. And I'm like, why? You know, like, I'm just, you know, but the truth is, I didn't put 2 and 2 together that I had that condition. I didn't know, and this is why aphasia is so important to me, because a stroke, you can see when somebody suffers a stroke on the outside. Like, you could still see that my arm is imbalanced and my right side is all a little bit off. You can see all that, but you don't know what's going on in the brain. And like Dennis, when he would go and he'd try to talk to somebody, well, they didn't understand initially that he suffered a stroke, right? So they're thinking, like, what's wrong with this person? Like, you know, right? They're right, Dennis? They were thinking, like, you know, and you're trying to get it out, and they're looking at you thinking, and you're watching them go, like, and you're getting more frustrated and more aggravated, and like it's a circle. So, but you know, I it's been a long time. I mean, it took me like 20 years to really get it, get what my purpose was. But I really believe that I had to go through those 20 years to be standing here today, to be able to share with everybody and to be a beacon of hope for everybody. That me, after 20 years, I mean, mine was over 30 years, that, you know what, keep living, you'll get better and better. And the truth is, you'll never be the way you were before. But the truth is, nobody is the way they were yesterday. We all age gracefully. We all, our bodies change, our hair changes, our nails change, our, you know, like that all changes. So it really doesn't, I mean, we're all different in a manner from day to day. So we have to accept that and say, what can we do to move on? Look for the future, look ahead. So my softball career played a huge impact in me achieving. Like, I'll never forget when I was in therapy and they made you throw the beans in the basket. I don't know if you guys had to do that. Pamela, Pam, did you do that?
Yeah, I had to do that.
Dennis, did you do that?
Yeah, I love that.
Did Keith, did Jenny, did you do that? Yeah, you had to throw. I got them all in. Whoop. And I'd say, okay, what's next? And I just turn around and go, okay, what's next? Because it was the way I operated, you know? So, you know,
So let's talk.
The moral to that story, I want to give a moral to that story before I forget. In life, we're always preparing for the what if. We're always preparing. We're always doing the best that we can, no matter what we're doing, no matter when we're doing it. We always do the best we can for us, not for anybody else. Not for anybody else. If you can pick your leg up halfway, great. The next day, if you can pick it up a little bit more, great. If the day after you can only pick it up a quarter, great, because that's the best that you could do. That's my moral.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that.
I've got a million things running through my brain right now.
I know.
A million. Yeah.
But it's exciting to have all those things running through your brain because it means, you know, you care and you want to make a difference.
Absolutely. And that is the truth. Please. Yeah, that is the truth. And I've got all these, I've been making notes on everybody's stuff. And so let's talk about depression for just a second, because some people that maybe may watch this later or whatever are going through that. And I'd like to talk about that because I went through depression. I was never a depressed person ever. I've always been a very positive person and believed that I could accomplish whatever I wanted. I am a goal setter. I'm a planner. I journal every day. I think in those terms. And then I had my stroke and all hell broke loose, right? And there was a time that I stood in this, we had this big picture window. Here I am, the owner of this company, okay? We grew it like crazy. I was very proud of that. And then boom, you have a stroke. Life has changed. And I stood looking out this picture window, and after my wife had babysat me for all these weeks, right? And then she finally goes back, and now I'm saying this from a man's perspective a little bit, just giving you guys a heads up. But you know, you're the provider for the family. In my family, that's how it was. That's how I was raised. And then all of a sudden this, and so I seriously debated ending it. I mean, I had lots of life insurance.
Wow.
And you know, everything would have been fine. But then that's when it kind of came to me. It's like, wait a second, if I'm going through this, then there's a lot of people going through this, right? And that is why I created this base program. You know, if you go back to what we were talking about before, the programs, you know, I started doing some coaching for people, and then, you know, I didn't feel like it was hitting the right cylinders. And so then I went back to the drawing board and I did some stuff, and then I created the base program in a workbook, you know, the big huge workbook that I created, and I got that going, and you know, it didn't do anything for people because it was too much of a document for people to read and actually work on themselves, right? And so that is when, and I got some feedback from everybody, and that's when they said, you know what, you need to create this program so that it takes people through. And that's when I did. And I'm not, believe me, I'm in this for the conversation. I love this conversation. But you know, it's a 15 module, you know, from 5 to 20 minutes every module, and there's a worksheet in every module that takes you through this. And part of the program deals with depression because how do you find your self-worth? Where do you come up with your purpose again? Because purpose changes for people, you know, and like you said, Renee, it can change for people, but they don't know it. They're not aware that my purpose is changing as you go through day-to-day life, right? But it is. But then you have a stroke. I mean, I think of Dennis. And Dennis, I want to give you a high five, a virtual high five, buddy.
I'll give it to you, Pam and Judy. Because
Bud, you've been through it. We've talked before, you and I. Not deep, but, and when was your stroke, Dennis?
Oh, 15 years, 15.
15 years. You have had to have had a persistent drive of some sort in your life to get you to keep doing what you do. I see you exercising too, and I see what you're doing, and you are a beacon of hope for people. And I want you to know that, bud.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Pam, we just met, but you know, I went through the depression as well. And I'm so thankful that you made that choice. And you talked to your husband, you know, and at least you got that out and you guys got through that. And that is huge, because when was your stroke, Pam?
The first one was 8 years ago in October.
Yeah. And so it's been a while and you've gone through it, but aren't you excited that you had those last 8 years now that you look back?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and Jenny, you and I are probably more closer than we want to admit. I had a disease that no one knew about until I had my stroke, and it caused my stroke. And so I know that physically, you know, when I was going through the challenges at work and all that, people would look at me and think, nothing, what's different about that guy? Because I don't, you know, my arm, I don't have aphasia. Well, I had it some, but I could get through it. And if people just looked at me, they didn't know any different until they talked to me.
Right.
And so anyway, I don't know, I guess where I'm going, but
I have a question for you, Keith. So
Yeah.
can we give them one exercise? One exercise. Do you have an exercise that you practice that is in your program that would help them with, take your time, look. Take your time and look. Take your time and look. Because it's really important. But while you're looking, don't hurry. I want to know what Dennis and Pam used to do before your stroke. What did you used to do, Dennis?
I was a chef. The
You're a
chef.
chef. Okay.
Yeah, it was the quot had a, my mother and father had did everybody there. I brought them, my father, I missed them. So I said, you know, where am I going to go now? So, okay. So I took it to chef to Harlem. Does that, do you know where that one? Yeah.
Harlem, New York. Harlem, New York. Harlem, New York. Yes.
Yeah. So it came in. It was, oh my God, it was so great with them. They came over and they come so often, and then some of them was a little bit older, but it was so much great. And then it was everything. So
Wow. Pam, what did you used to do?
I was a teacher.
A teacher. So was Stacy.
Nursery
Where did
school.
you used to teach?
Nursery school.
Nursery school. In around the area?
Yes, I was a director of a center in Mawa.
Wow. You know, didn't I meet your husband? Didn't he work in the school systems or something? I remember I knew your husband from somewhere. I don't know from where.
CBS.
CBS. Okay. Because I knew when I met him at your house, I was like, I know him. Anyway, so, Keith, did you find the?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. That's the problem.
That's okay. But I just want to do one. Just want to give them one or two.
So let me talk about one that's in the attitude section of the program. Okay.
Okay.
And there's a few different we call them stepping stones. There's all these stepping stones. There's 4 or so for every, B is belief, A is attitude, strength is, or S is strength, and E is energy. And that's base, and that's your base foundation. That's the way I see it. And anyway, so in the attitude part, one of the modules that you go through is focus on growth. And there's a ton of them. I could read them for you guys if you want, but in the focus on growth, I talk about, let's see, there's a researcher, her name is Carol Dweck. Have any of you heard of her?
No. Where's she at, Keith?
She was a Stanford professor. And anyway, one of the things that she came up with was let me just read this, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
There's been a lot of buzz about an idea put forth by the Stanford professor. And in her research, she found that there was no connection between intelligence or ability and the qualities that lead to learning, like seeking challenges, persevering in the face of setbacks, applying a high level of effort. And while many students with high intelligence had these qualities, there were also plenty of students with high intelligence that avoided challenges, disliked effort, and gave up really quickly. And so what was the difference? About the mindset, okay? And so she talks about a fixed mindset and then a growth mindset, okay? And so one of the things that I teach in this program is on the growth mindset. How do we, continue to have that growth mindset, even though we had the stroke, right? When I had my stroke, I was told you have a year and a half is as good as it's going to get. I have asked so many stroke survivors if they heard that same thing, and I'm telling you, it's like 90% of them. Now,
Okay, so hang on, let's
things are starting to change. A lot of the neurologists now have figured out that your brain can grow and your brain can work its way around the problems, but you have to work on it. You've got to have a desire to do that. Go ahead, Renee.
No, I was gonna say, I just really quickly wanted to touch base. I know Pam said yes, you had them tell you you didn't have a long time. Am I correct in my mindset?
I didn't have back after a year. Forget about.
Yeah, Judy, your father?
Yes, they told me that when I first met the surgeon, when I first met the heart doctor, he told me that my dad wasn't going to make it and there was really nothing he could do. And I said, fine. I fired him and I got somebody with a more positive attitude that was going to describe to me what was happening and what they could do about it, because I wasn't going to take no for an answer.
Good
Wow.
for
And
you,
he lived
Judy.
another 3 years and 3 months
Wow.
after that.
Wow.
And
See?
he was able to communicate and talk about a lot of different things, and it was quality. And his Rotary Club even came to visit him every week.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that's incredible. Jenny, did you didn't have such a, did they give you any forecast?
No, I didn't have a forecast, but I have to, and listening to this and kind of remembering things, the neurologist that they assigned to me when I was in the hospital, who I saw, I think twice when I got out for follow-ups, and he really wasn't, there wasn't any goal-oriented. I mean, I was speaking okay and the aphasia really wasn't there, but he was more concerned with the fact that I had arthritis in my neck and this and that, and I was going to end up with collar and, and after a couple of sessions of that and his office just trying to, waiting hours for an appointment in the waiting room was just like totally disorganized. And I called my internist and said, you got to find me another neurologist. And that's how I came to have the one that I have now, who is much more positive. I mean, he's on your show, and there's no negativity. Everything is very positive, and the condition hasn't changed, and everything is good, and you'll probably live the rest of your life without any trouble. So I had a very much more positive aspect. I didn't have that this is as good as it's going to get thing.
But Jenny, think about this. Think about this. Now, all of us here and whoever's listening, whatever, if you have, most of us put our docs and especially a neurologist on high, on the high bleachers, if you will, for lack of a better term. And we have high respect for them. And sometimes it causes us to take what they say and believe it and either act or not act on that. And that is what happened to me. Now, I can sit here and I can blame other people. I'm not going to do that. We all have our own choice. But one of the reasons I love what you're doing here, Renee, and I love this format is because we got to get the word out and help people understand that, look, you can get better. You have to believe you can get better, and you have to want to get better, and then go get it done. And
don't
it's gonna be
stand
hard.
Don't
It's
stand for
not-
any negative doctors telling you that it's not going to work out. Get them out of your loved one's life and get somebody that you can talk to and you can communicate with and is more positive.
Yeah.
We all have our own different things. You know, Dennis and Pam and Jenny, myself, Renee, Judy, and your dad, we all have different things, and everybody's different, but it still doesn't give you reason to not accept and go after it and make your life better. And that's what this whole chapter that we're just talking about, Renee, it goes in more deep into that and talks about micro goals and praise and celebrate effort and, you know, cooperate rather than compete, and value your growth and you know, your positive mindset. And that's just one of the, you know, 15 modules that are in this that people can work on and they can get going again. So I'm sorry, but I get on my horse when that comes
No,
up.
and I gotta tell you, you know, I'm so honored to be here because all of you have really taken your power back, right? And you're saying, no, I'm not gonna tolerate this. This is not gonna be the way it is. You know, you've all like done something that's just very powerful. You're like, no, not anymore. Like, this is my life. This is matters to me. And I love your enthusiasm, Keith. I think it's just infectious. The only, you know, Keith and I spoke about this the other day, and that's why I love to have these conversations, because I know that I got to the other side. Like, I know I'm on the other side. I know I've always had that drive to get there, but I also know and understand that when people suffer a stroke, their brains are scrambled, and it's not their fault sometimes the way they're processing and thinking. They have to get to the point to see some clarity, to see some hope, to see some understanding of how to get there. So what I'm trying to figure out in my life purpose is, one of my life's purposes, how do we bridge that gap? How do we help someone that is in the place of Pam sitting there wanting to take her life, or you, Keith, or you, Dennis, or Judy's dad, or Ginny? When you first suffer your stroke, you're combobulated. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. So we have to get you through that before we get into the drive. You got to drive down that road. So that's why I love to listen and understand where everybody's coming from. And that's why, like with you, Dennis, I told you, one of the things that I've learned from a dear confidant and friend of mine, Dominic Cordelesa, was to take a deep breath. There's no hurry. There's no hurry. There's no hurry. Take a deep breath, relax. If you can't think about something, if you can't get it out, all you have to do is say, excuse me, I can't think right now. I'll get back to you. And you have every right in the world to get back to them the next day. So you can process and think about what it is you need at your own speed and your own time. And you could take your power back. And you could take your power back rather than sitting there feeling like you're not worthy because you can't think fast enough. Like, I couldn't think either back then. I remember looking at people and people talking to me, and I'm like, I don't get what they're saying. I don't get what they're saying. So, you know, you have to learn to put tools in your belt, you know, so that you could take those tools out when you need to take them out. So
Thank you.
Can I, and I don't mean to take up, all the time here,
This
please.
program is about us all talking, so go ahead.
But one of the key things that you're hitting on right now is caregivers, spouses, those people, and that is, frankly, from my program, that's going to be my target market, because
Yeah, it is.
those are the people that really have an impact. And I thank God for my wife. I mean, I can't even say enough. She, and I've told you this, Renee, but when she went back to work, she had this other lady that was there, and her father had had a stroke. And she said that the saddest thing was her dad could never talk, because her mom always took over all the conversation, never had patience, never listened, never gave him a chance to talk. And so he just quit. And so I'm very passionate and fortunate about that, because my wife learned that, and now she probably can't shut me up. No, but spouses need to know. They need to understand that people need room to talk, and what you're doing with Dennis is huge, because that's Dennis needs to relax. He needs to speak, and that's what will help that come forward. If you feel like you're in a hurry, Dennis, all the time, and just trying to push through, it's gonna discombobulate you. You gotta just relax, take your time, and say what's on your mind, bud.
Yeah. So, I don't know if everybody saw, I was talking to Keith before. Judy, I didn't even tell you this. Oh, I did last night, that I'm writing another book.
Yes.
It's called Love Them Through It, because I really believe that's the beginning key to healing and recovery, is having that conditional love throughout your process and throughout your recovery. It doesn't matter what you're recovering from. We all need to have love in our lives, but when you're suffering something, you need to have that love around you. And I don't know if it was with you, Keith, that I spoke about peeling back the onion. When you suffer a stroke and you're suffering from aphasia, you have this traumatic fear in you. It's a fear that I still battle. I battle it inward. Now I know how to get over it very quickly and to show good face, because that's how I operate now. But I had this fear in me. There was such a fear. So I had to have people love me and just love me. I'll never forget my father when God had me quit a wonderful job. I'm not even going to go into it right now, but he had me leave a wonderful job. And because my purpose was to do what I'm doing, and I couldn't be where I am unless I went through the next phase. So I called my father and I said, Daddy, you know what? I got the job. You know what he said to me? He didn't say good, nothing. He said, let me ask you something. Does it make you happy? And I said, yes. He said, that's all that matters.
That's what my dad would have said in the same circumstance.
So I had that unconditional love from the moment that I suffered my stroke. And of course, my daughter, Brittany, was a baby, and, my sister and my grandmother, everybody, whatever I needed. So that's something that's so inbred in me.
Very fortunate.
I am fortunate, but I think of those that are not as fortunate, that don't have that unconditional love. That's the key to the embryo of recovery, is having that love, having that support, where the doctors don't give you estimated times. They don't have to give you any time. They don't have to share the reality. They can just give you some hope, because you got to live from that hope. You have to hang on to that hope.
Renee,
Hope
I have to say that when my dad had this massive stroke, my husband was extremely supportive, but the rest of my family was not. they had a meeting in the hospital in one of the rooms there, and they said, oh, your dad needs a feeding tube, don't do it. He wouldn't want to live like this. I said, I'm going to do whatever I can do to save his life. And he thanked me for it, because I asked him in the last year of his life, the 3rd year, I said, Dad, do you think I was selfish in trying to put in this feeding tube, because you would have died if I didn't do it? And now I know the problems that the feeding tube caused. And I'm feeling that maybe I didn't do the right thing. And he said, Judy, you did the right thing. I really appreciate it. And you showed me the love that you had. And that was the most important thing. And my husband also, the family came over and said to my husband, oh, Judy's not doing the right thing. He said, Judy's going to do what she feels is right.
Yeah.
She has to live with what she's deciding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keith?
I was just agreeing. Before we go, I want to say a few things, but I wanted to make sure that Jenny and Pam and Dennis are getting a chance to say anything that they're thinking right now.
What's on your mind, Jenny? Or Pam, what are you thinking?
No, I think this is really good. This is like a good thing. Because I
Good.
feel like I'm not alone.
Say,
That-
you feel like what?
I'm not alone. Like there are other people out there that are
Yes.
going through the same.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're giving them hope.
Yeah.
Right.
And the truth is that sometimes the angel in your life is not somebody that you expect, right? We would all expect for our husbands or our wives or our brothers, sisters, families, but sometimes people come to you in a different venue. Just be open for the lessons, be open for the spiritual guidance or the education that you can get from everybody, because it's a different tone of the voice. And sometimes people are saying things, your family's saying things to you constantly, and you block them out, you don't hear them. So just be open for the different tones and the different educations. And I hope that we can come back like in 3 months, let's reel back and let's see what accomplishments we all can get within that 3 months. Okay. And when we come back, I'll ask you, like, what's a small goal that you guys could set? But Ginny, did you want to say anything?
I'm just thinking how lucky that I am, that I was, that my stroke came and went. It was small. I still have my health, around me and everything. And, the support, my husband and some friends and so on. And the things that I had going on that I still had, and just very briefly, that there was a dance program that I was working to be a part of. And I needed to finish. I was doing a costume, I was doing choreography and everything. And so I had that particular goal, and I feel very fortunate that I did not have the huge problems that you folks have gone through, and the achievements, and I respect the achievements that you've made.
Yeah.
I think everybody goes through problems, though. It doesn't matter if it's a stroke, if it's heart attack, if it's anything. There's a million things. Everybody goes through challenges in life, and if you decide that you're gonna pick up and keep moving and be positive about it, and then life is gonna be positive for you, right?
Wow.
So Jenny, you're an example of that, frankly.
So, I think we're just going to go another 10 minutes. Is that okay for everybody? So we can all state something or wrap it up. I have 2 questions for everybody, if that's okay with Keith, that I ask the questions, and then I'll let you share a little bit about your base program, especially the outline of it, just so we could wrap things up, and why, what you've done. So I have a question. Who was there one person that inspired you to flip that switch and get better? Was there somebody? I know, Pam, it probably was your son. Was it your son?
It was my both boys actually. And my husband. Like I wouldn't be, after my first stroke, I was fine. I walked to the car. I was going to drive to Valley.
Right.
I was walking off a soccer field
Wow.
with my
Wow.
son, and my entire left side got pins and needles.
Wow.
And I didn't know what happened, but I knew it wasn't good.
Wow.
I let every other parent I live in Waldwick, every other Waldwick parent, I let them go in their car and go home. And it was Gabriel and I. And Gabriel went and knocked on a door of a person that lived across the street from the soccer field. And this family was so wonderful. They came out with blankets, water. They called 911 from their home. They stayed with us until the police came. They allowed my husband to park because he had to come in his truck.
Right.
And I couldn't drive. I was going by ambulance. And they let us park in their driveway. And so that's why every year on my stroke anniversary, I do something to pay it forward.
Wow.
Because,
That's awesome.
Beautiful.
because that family could have turned their back on my little 9-year-old son, and they didn't.
Wow.
And, so that's why every year, like I said, for the last 7, and now this year will be 8.
What day is it?
The first one was on October 7th, and then the second one was on October 8th.
Okay, so 2 days in a row?
Yeah, because
Okay.
the doctor didn't want to give me the medicine because she was afraid that I would have a brain bleed.
Oh.
And then the second one, the nurse, I had a male nurse that looked like Joe Jonas. And and he came in and he was talking to me, and the left side of his face disappeared.
Wow.
And I started to cry. And he said to me, "What just happened?" I said, "Unless the left side of your face just fell off, I don't know." And they took me for a CAT scan. And the way my husband describes it is the first stroke was the size of a peanut. The second stroke, it was the size of an orange.
Wow. Wow.
So, like I said, you know what? And my husband and my kids, they pushed me. My little one especially. Like, I used to laugh because I have 1,000 feet away is a stop sign. And when I first came home, that was what the physical therapist had me do, walk to the stop sign and back. So my father used to pay my youngest $5 every time he took me to the stop sign.
Right.
We go to
Oh
the
my
stop
gosh.
sign, but he had made a request. He was graduating 5th grade, going into middle school. And he said to me, "Could you not take a cane or your wheelchair?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I'll try." And I worked my butt off, but I went into that graduation with no wheelchair and no cane.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
but he would push. Like my physical therapist used to say he was my little taskmaster.
Yeah.
Because
But that drive proves that anything is exactly what Keith is saying, that anything is possible. You gotta want it though, and you have to want it bad enough to push your way through it.
Yep.
That's
Like
a
I
good
said,
story.
and I remember we were walking one day and he said, "Let's go around the block." And I said, "I don't know if I could do that." And he's like, "It's okay, Mom. I'm not tired." I'm like, "Oh, good. Can you carry Mommy? Because I don't know if I'm going to make it." And one of the fathers from his class was there, and he said, "Pam, I have the car right here." And Gabriel said to him, "She's not ever going to be able to walk if you keep giving her rides."
She's stating exactly what you said before, Keith. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Wow. Dennis, who inspired you?
It's very good, but it's crazy because but I love my wife. But so does my laughter. I love that. But she does think she was who's me, like it's just me, and oh, no, get here, get that, no, stop here, you're doing eating. So I know that, but here it's hard for us with her. It's hard. But here, people who love this is doing so much great for us. Like it's for people who Mona, this girl Mona, she goes, they're just guys who really me sorry. I called to do it up, sorry. So it's like somebody like my wife, she loves me, but she doesn't understand it. She doesn't see me. Oh no, look, he still she doesn't understand that. So the people who were there for us are so much really here, really good for me to do it. So even I know how much just how you do, you guys need me so much. You don't even say it like, oh, go ahead. It's so much great just to even talk to it,
Right.
But it's so much. It really has to. My wife has to do stuff. My wife has to start to try and leave it. Did you understand it?
Yes, and maybe that's why we honestly believe that this program that Keith created is really it's for the stroke survivors, but it's really for the families of the stroke survivors, because they need guidance, they need support, getting to understand what you're going through and you're feeling. So I mean, and Keith and I love to do these programs because it just enforces what we believe and what we were saying about the program and who really it would benefit most. And it's true. Your wife, first of all, I would imagine that she's got this fear in her and she's got this hurt and longing to help you in such a way that she just doesn't know how to deal with it. She just doesn't know how to give you that. She wants to, she just doesn't know how. So I commend you for not, this is going to be the wrong terminology, and I don't want you to take this in a negative vein. I'm happy you're not feeding into that. You're not feeding into her. You're looking outside for other support and other encouragement, and you're looking for that hope. And you're like, and I said it before, sometimes your hope doesn't come from your family. It doesn't come from them because sometimes they're not the ones putting your path to bring you hope and to bring you that. Everybody's got their place in our lives, it's like a softball game. Everybody's got their positions and everybody's got to play their positions. So, just love her through it, Dennis. Love her through it. Tell her you understand that she doesn't understand, and, love her through it. And maybe that will give her a little bit of comfort, just reverse it a little bit. Give her the love, show her the love, reverse it. And you know what? The other thing is when you exude love comes back to you. And that really is very important. Very important.
Very good. Very good, Renee.
It was great. It really was great.
Yeah. So Ginny, do you want to say anything before Keith takes the last few words?
The only thing I really want to say, and this is, again, random thoughts kind of run through your head, is that when I had my stroke, which was, again, a small aphasia, I didn't know that there were different kinds of strokes. And one of the things I've learned is recognizing, I thought a stroke was somebody fell on the floor and they had a seizure and they couldn't talk and they couldn't walk and that was it. There are, Judy talked about eye strokes on one of the programs and
Well, my dad had.
Yeah, there's all, and so it's been a huge education for me to learn about all of this. So, that was just a random thought that really wasn't part of, you know.
Yeah, but maybe somebody needed to hear that, you know, because you know what? Stroke is a leading cause of disability in the country and the 5th leading cause of death. And most people think it only happens to their grandparents. And look at all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at all of us. We're not grandparents. Well, I am now, but I was 26 when I had my stroke. What's
And
that?
it can happen to an unborn baby. It can happen
Right.
any time in life.
To anybody. So that is something that people need to become aware of. You know, I always say that this pandemic has been a horrific thing that's happened in our lives, but some blessings have come out of it for us to take a few steps back and to really think and review our lives and value our lives and to love our lives and to really love the simple things in life again. We got away from the simple things in life, and it really is very important to love those things. So,
Very good.
Judy,
Yeah.
do you want to say anything? Judy, did you want to?
Me?
Yes.
When my dad had his stroke, his eyes were affected too, but they never really addressed that. So now I've learned a lot about that as well. I just want everybody that is recovering from a stroke to think positive. You can do it. It's hard work, but you can do it. And surround yourself with people who are positive.
Right.
It'll help. And have faith, and God bless you all.
Thank, that was good.
Keith,
Yeah.
take it away.
Well, so, okay. You know, the base program, just to, I guess,
Wrap
give you
things
some more
around.
of that. I don't, you know, I don't want to be a commercial or nothing. I'm not that way, but I worked my tail end off on this to make it good for people. And what it is it's 15 modules long. It's 2.5 hours of these modules that you can take. There's PDFs, worksheets for every module has a PDF that goes with it. The base workbook comes with it as well. The whole workbook in a PDF form. It's got 70 pages in it. I decided I was gonna offer this as well. I'm going to do live. I don't know if it'll be Facebook, probably will be Facebook, but I'm gonna do coaching and we'll go through the program on that. And I'm going to do that these monthly live training sessions as well. And somebody gets that 6 month, they'll get that for free if they buy it. There's going to be a private Facebook group so that people can go in and can communicate with one another as well, which is important as well, just like this, Renee, you know, where people can talk and they can go back and forth on stuff. And so, you know, the program, I'm selling it for $97. And what I would ask is if anybody has any desire to know more about it or to anything, please email me. My email is keith@strengthafterstroke.com. And you can look up my website as well, strengthafterstroke.com. And of course, I'm going to share the proceeds with what we're doing here with RenéMarie's important work that she's doing as well. And so, you know, that's all I'll say about that, I guess. And
But
yeah.
I want to say something about that, because I don't want anybody to think we're here to only to sell your product, because that's not where Keith and I are from. But we do believe that somebody may hear something and then come across somebody in your network that is looking for some help and some program, and they're desiring it. And maybe Pam or Dennis or Ginny or Judy will hear of them and go, I know exactly where you got to go. Yeah. And the truth is that Keith, this is done from his heart and his soul, and is so wonderful, you know, everything he's given you. So we just wanted to put it out to everybody, but we're so happy that you took the time today to share your stories,
Yeah.
because stories are what bring hope to people. Stories are what bring life to everybody. Everybody's got a story. And some are more difficult than others. And you know, we always praying for everybody in, you know, during this struggle, this hard time. But we're so happy that you took the time tonight, Pam, Dennis, Judy, Ginny, and really we're honored that you took the time with us. And you know, we always say that now you're part of our family, so join us anytime you like. And we're really honored and privileged. And we are gonna come back in 3 months, because I wanna know the progress that Pam and Dennis you've made. Before we go, do you have a little goal that you want to tell us? Whether it's walking around the block or whatever it is, do you have a little goal you want to make set for yourself for that 3 months?
Walking around the block.
You haven't walked around the block yet?
No.
Okay. Do you think it's something achievable?
Yes.
And
Yes.
how far do you go now around?
I go halfway.
Okay. So
So-
I just want to set forth that even if you go 3/4, we don't want to push you where you're.
No. Yeah. You know, that's what I've learned. That, you know what, it is what it is. And
Right.
If-
But then in 6 months, maybe you'll be able to make that wrap around
like
your
I
block.
said, in 2 months' time, I went from having to take a wheelchair into his Christmas program to going in without a cane or a wheelchair to his graduation.
That's
Right.
marvelous.
That's marvelous.
It's awesome.
So good. Dennis, do you have a goal?
You know, I just want to do it I just want to do it again. That,
Yeah.
You know, that's it. Again,
Yeah.
I want to be again for me. You know, I know how it is. That I do, like, you know, because how it goes there. You know, I don't care it is, because it's gonna be happening. Because I'm doing this one and food. You know, I don't know. I'm sorry. Food is dietize ORC. Do you guys know that?
No, what is
No,
that?
I didn't know.
It's fishing, fish,
Oh, fish.
No, chef.
Jeff,
So I was before done profit.
Nonprofit.
Right. So, oh my God, I got up here and he got it. So we were doing there. So if you guys can look it up, it'd be great. Dietize.
Send me the link in my
sorry.
email, okay? And Facebook.
Thank
And
you,
we'll
but-
hook it up that way. Okay?
Oh yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you, everyone. Everybody's good to go? Everybody
before we
feels
say
good?
goodnight, I
Good.
just
Thank you very much.
tell Dennis to get in touch with me.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay.
We always blow kisses before we go. Ready?
Yeah.
On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Bye, everybody. See you later.
Have a
Thank you.
good
Bye-bye.
night.
Joining us.